Iran now has the capability to produce the necessary nuclear material for a bomb in just 12 days. The facility in question is of significant size, with the capacity to accommodate around 100,000 centrifuges. It should be clear that Iran's ambitions extend beyond a single nuclear weapon. Recently, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency visited Iran under ominous circumstances. News had emerged that Iran was on the verge of obtaining nuclear weapons. While Iran's pursuit of such weapons is not surprising, as investigations into their nuclear programs have been conducted for 2 decades, what is truly alarming is the proximity they have now reached. The International Atomic Energy Agency discovered that Iran possesses uranium enriched to 84%. For those unfamiliar with nuclear science, this means that Iran could create nuclear bombs within a mere 12 days if it desired, as confirmed by top U.S. Defense Department officials who closely monitor the situation. Some might argue that this isn't particularly concerning, given the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, which provides ample cause for worry regarding nuclear weapons. After all, Moscow possesses the world's largest nuclear arsenal, with nearly 6,000 warheads. However, Iran's acquisition of nuclear bombs is indeed disconcerting. Such a development would have a seismic impact on the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. Numerous countries, including Israel, view Iran's pursuit of these formidable weapons with great unease. Israel has explicitly stated its intentions to launch airstrikes against Iran's nuclear facilities should they approach the acquisition of nuclear capabilities. Given Israel's strong military alliance with the United States, the situation has the potential to rapidly deteriorate. The Middle East has long been plagued by warfare, often involving the U.S., and Iran has numerous adversaries in the region, including Saudi Arabia. The resulting chaos would be profound. This video aims to delve into how Iran obtaining nuclear weapons could ignite a major conflict, exploring the various parties involved and why Iran would embark on such a path. Surprisingly, Russia may also be aiding Iran. Prior to proceeding, I kindly request that you like this video. Your likes significantly influence the visibility of my content on YouTube. The platform tends to promote videos that align with their brand-friendly criteria. Your likes signal to the algorithm that this video is worthy of promotion. Therefore, please endeavor to reach 100,000 likes for this video. Now, let us delve into the topic at hand. When we examine the chart displaying Iran's GDP over the past decade, it becomes evident that the country's economy has been far from stable. The GDP figures have undergone a nearly 50% reduction during this 10-year period. The reason behind this decline is quite simple. Iran has faced a multitude of sanctions imposed by various countries targeting its economy and military. For a significant period, Iran held the unenviable distinction of being the most heavily sanctioned nation globally. However, Russia eventually claimed that title. At present, Iran is subject to a total of 4,191 sanctions, predominantly imposed by Western countries such as the United States and European nations. These sanctions primarily stem from concerns regarding Iran's nuclear program. Over the past few decades, Iran has persistently pursued nuclear weapons, raising apprehension among Western nations. In 2002, it was unveiled that Iran was covertly constructing 2 nuclear facilities. While Iran asserted that these sites were intended for peaceful purposes such as nuclear energy, this explanation seemed dubious, given Iran's abundant oil resources and minimal need for nuclear energy. Consequently, questions arose. Following diplomatic negotiations, Iran agreed to the Paris Accord in 2004. This accord stipulated that Iran could enrich uranium exclusively for peaceful purposes and that the International Atomic Energy Agency would monitor its compliance. However, this plan eventually faltered due to the lack of transparency in Iran's nuclear program. International researchers were impeded from properly evaluating the program due to restricted access to some of Iran's military installations. Fearing that Iran might develop nuclear weapons, the United States and the European Union initiated sanctions against Iran. A glimmer of hope emerged in 2014 when China, Russia, the European Union, and the United States reached a deal with Iran known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. The objective of this agreement was to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear arsenal, and in return, other countries would refrain from imposing sanctions on Iran. However, in 2018, the Trump administration withdrew from this nuclear deal, resulting in a shift in the status quo. Iran intensified its uranium enrichment efforts, consequently facing numerous sanctions from Western countries, particularly the United States. These actions inflicted significant financial harm upon Iran, leading to an inflation rate exceeding 40% and the loss of billions of dollars in GDP within a few years. Thus, the pursuit of uranium enrichment and the development of nuclear weapons exacts a heavy toll on Iran. Why is Iran's motive behind pursuing nuclear weapons a question that arises? Wouldn't it be simpler to dismantle their nuclear weapons program and avoid facing severe sanctions? First and foremost, let's examine Iran's leadership. Iran operates under a theocratic regime, effectively governed by the Islamic clergy. The highest political and religious authority lies with the country's supreme leader. Currently, Ali Khamenei holds this position, and his stance on nuclear ambitions remains somewhat ambiguous. Officially, he claims that nuclear bombs are prohibited under Islamic law due to the harm they cause to innocent lives. However, these statements contradict the actions of the Iranian government. It is contradictory to condemn nuclear bombs while simultaneously enriching uranium to levels close to weapon grade. Moreover, there are no civilian programs that necessitate such high levels of enriched uranium, 84. Additionally, it's important to note that the supreme leader holds the power to change Islamic law at any time, making the prohibition against nuclear bombs less reliable. It doesn't require extraordinary insight to discern that Iran's leadership is harboring some ulterior motives. The answer lies within Iran's foreign policy. On another note, safeguarding personal data online is paramount. Iran has amassed numerous adversaries, both within the Middle East and globally. Among those countries, the United States stands out as a significant source of tension. Both parties share the blame for the strained relationship. The origins of this discord trace back to 1953, when the United States supported a coup that toppled Iran's democratically elected government, replacing it with a pro-Western dictator. This incident fostered a deep-rooted aversion among the Iranian public towards the United States. The situation deteriorated further in 1979 during the Islamic Revolution, when Iranian revolutionaries seized the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding American diplomats hostage for 444 days. Consequently, diplomatic ties between the two nations were severed. Adding fuel to the fire, when Iraq invaded Iran in 1980, the United States provided intelligence to Saddam Hussein to aid Iraq's fight against Iran. This only exacerbated the already strained relationship. To this day, Iran and the United States remain bitter adversaries. The United States regards Iran as one of the greatest threats to its interests and allies in the Middle East. Historically, energy security has been a paramount U.S. interest in the region. However, presently, the importance of energy security is minimal, as the United States imports more oil from Canada than from the entire Persian Gulf region combined. Currently, U.S. influence in the region predominantly revolves around geopolitics and global security. By forging strategic alliances with certain countries in the region, the United States advances its own interests. This is a notion that Iran vehemently opposes. They aspire to oust the United States from the region and secure more influence for themselves. Consequently, the United States allies in the Middle East have become Iran's adversaries. Many of these allies, such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, enjoy close ties with the United States. However, they may not be the most dependable partners for the United States. During the onset of the war in Ukraine, when oil prices surged, the Saudi-led OPEC organization reduced oil production, driving prices even higher. The United States disapproved of this move since it allowed these oil-rich nations to profit from the war and inflated oil prices further. Saudi Arabia recently made an announcement regarding further reductions in oil production, despite facing discouragement from the United States. Although these alliances may not be completely reliable, they hold immense importance due to Saudi Arabia and the UAE's significant power and influence in the Arab world. The strategic ties established by Washington with these countries offer geopolitical advantages to the United States. Aligning with Saudi Arabia and the UAE brings economic and political benefits. One crucial aspect of this strategic partnership lies in the military domain, where the United States serves as the primary supplier of military equipment to both Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Currently, the United States is engaged in joint military exercises named Operation Eagle Resolve 23 with Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and other Gulf nations. These drills aim to strengthen cooperation and facilitate the exchange of military expertise. These developments have not gone unnoticed by Iran, which perceives the growing proximity between these countries and the West, particularly the United States, as unfavorable. Consequently, Iran has been engaged in a Cold War with Saudi Arabia and other Gulf nations. Proxy wars across the Middle East, including conflicts in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, serve as examples of this ongoing rivalry. While Iran occasionally deploys its own troops, its primary approach involves supporting militias and terrorist groups to achieve its objectives. Iran's ultimate goal is to expand its influence in the region and become more powerful. Consequently, tensions persist between Iran and Saudi Arabia, although recent diplomatic efforts by China have led to the historic restoration of diplomatic ties between the two nations. However, the Cold War dynamics have not completely subsided, as Iran remains committed to its aspirations of becoming a dominant regional power. One manifestation of these ambitions is Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons, which may be connected to its long-standing Cold War policy of expanding influence. Possessing nuclear capabilities serves as a means of safeguarding against direct attacks and furthering Iran's dominance. Unsurprisingly, Iran's nuclear ambitions have raised concerns among its adversaries. Saudi Arabia's foreign minister has emphasized that if Iran acquires nuclear weapons, all previous agreements will become null and void. Furthermore, the Saudi crown prince has stated that Saudi Arabia will develop its own nuclear arsenal in response to Iran's actions. This scenario has the potential to ignite a nuclear arms race in the region, further escalating the ongoing Cold War. Such developments would undoubtedly undermine the stability of the Middle East, where these rival powers could possess the capability to annihilate each other at the push of a button. In addition to Saudi Arabia, Iran faces another formidable adversary in the Middle East, namely Israel. Since its establishment in 1948, Israel has maintained close ties with the United States. In fact, the United States was the first country to recognize Israel as a sovereign nation after World War II. Over the years, Israel has received substantial economic and military aid from the United States, with foreign military financing surpassing that of any other nation. In 1989, Israel became a major non-NATO ally of the United States, solidifying a robust military partnership. Recently, joint exercises between U.S. and Israeli forces, known as Juniper Oak 23, marked the largest military drills in their history. Israel stands as the strongest partner of the United States in the Middle East due to their close alliance. Consequently, Israel is a significant adversary for Iran. Similar to its Cold War with Saudi Arabia, Iran openly declares its intention to destroy Israel and erase it from the map. Iranian leaders have made explicit statements about wiping Israel off the face of the earth, emphasizing their determination to achieve this goal. Needless to say, the relationship between Israel and Iran is characterized by intense hostility. For many years, Iran has provided support to terrorist groups, enabling them to carry out attacks within Israeli borders. Hamas, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and Hezbollah are all organizations that receive sponsorship from the Iranian government. Now let's explore the impact of this ongoing conflict on the region. You may have come across news about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, particularly the situation in Gaza. Over the years, both Palestinians and Israelis have launched numerous rockets in an area known as the Gaza Strip. This region has a complex history. It is predominantly inhabited by Arab Palestinians, but was annexed by Israel in 1967 following the Six-Day War. During this war, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, which did not recognize Israel as a newly established nation, engaged in conflict with Israel. As a precautionary measure against further attacks from Egypt, Israel assumed control of the area. Since then, Israeli forces have remained in the Gaza Strip, leading many nations to condemn it as an illegal military occupation. In 2005, Israel officially disengaged from the Gaza Strip, relinquishing direct control. However, Israel still maintains control over the borders and imposes blockades, while its forces regularly intervene in the region using military force. The reason behind this continued involvement is the presence of Hamas, a terrorist organization funded by